How you feeling, Brad?
Oh, bum, 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 bum.
I listened to the Nextlander podcast this week, and you sounded a little bit movie announcer.
It's been a couple of weeks in my throat and chest.
You're definitely sounding a little more Brad.
Yeah? I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, like, Vinny actually had to go re-EQ me.
Oh, really?
Because some people were complaining. Like, apparently the tone was getting down into an area of bass response that some people's headphones could not handle. And they were kind of losing me, I guess, or I was really muddying out.
The thing I want to know is, did anybody put you on in their car on the Rumble speaker, so that like just they're driving down cruising and all they hear is Brad going, yeah, I think the dad was real sad. I don't know. The boy's bad. The dad's sad. Somebody else is mad. I don't know.
Yes. Sad dad had bad lad. My cousin was one of those people in the 90s.
Oh,
he had a Camaro with like the extreme, like the bass that rattled the car everywhere and the windows all over the place.
Did he like the thing that I loved about those guys is that they were really, really good at a very specific subset of physics that involved calculating the frequency of bass, the wavelength of the frequency of bass they wanted to amplify, so that they could build a folded plywood tube with two 12-inch woofers on either end that would make a positive feedback loop. Because that's like a lot of dudes took wood shop just so they could build, off-brand generic butt kickers.
Oh yeah. In my firsthand experience of having ridden around in that Camaro is that listening to or even being able to hear the music is pretty much secondary to the effect that you have on the people that you're driving by.
Yeah. I mean, look, you're basically just saying, hey, I'm a kind of an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you're driving a Camaro, so it's implied, I guess.
Hey, shots fired, but not really.
Look, Bristol was a Mustang town, Brad. Welcome to Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod. I'm Will.
I'm Brad. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Brad, it's the first episode of the month, which you know what that means.
Questions.
Well, we were going to do questions last week, but somebody was sick and he's like, I'm too sick to podcast. So instead I didn't realize until I posted that was the episode that I talked about going to the urologist.
Oh no. Oh no. That's, a couple of the questions we got in the questions channel were about things in that episode that I guess people maybe who are on the lower tier of the Patreon had not heard before.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
And it like one of them was about me taking voice therapy or having voice therapy a year ago. Point is, it made me realize when we just willy-nilly pluck an old patron episode from the archives and throw it out on the main feed out of necessity occasionally. It's like you need to go do an accounting of what was discussed in that episode, because we get a little loose, a little all over the place in those things.
Yeah, it's like 2,500 of our closest friends listen to that show. Yeah. So
yeah.
But yeah, the urologist, if you want more of that, you can sign up at the $5 tier and you get one of those a month where we talk about, sometimes it's just more questions. Sometimes like this month we had a bounty of Qs that needed to be turned into As.
That's right.
So sometimes we just do question overrun. Probably maybe that'll be this month's patron episode will be a question overrun episode. But
we should be this lucky every month.
Yeah, it is that time of the month where we turn Qs into As. So if you have questions, you can send them to podcast@content.town, or if you're in the Discord, you can post them in the Qs Seeking As channel, and we will do our best to answer them. Meaning serious or cake batter. We'll do them all.
That's right.
So
do you know what I name these files?
October space hyphen 22 or apostrophe 22.
No, that's the Google Drive. Sorry, I meant the Audacity project / like archive of the episode project.
Oh, no, I don't.
My naming scheme is E episode number, so like E156 dash, okay. And then a just quick summary of the title. You actually came up with this.
Oh, this is what I've done since the start of this is what I did this on the Maximum PC podcast too.
Right. So it'll be like, like a couple weeks ago, it was like E155 GeForce 4090 or whatever, or like, E156 Gordon.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. But for Q&As, your abbreviation is QANDA.
Yeah.
So Q and A in one letter, but in my mind or my head, I've come to pronounce that as Conda.
Quanda? Okay.
Conda,
I can see that.
Like, I feel like if there was a U, if it was QUA, I would pronounce it Quanda. But
it's kind of like the Australian airline. That's Qantas.
Qantas.
There's a U in there though.
Yeah. Also Conda is a Python packaging scheme.
Yeah, I have
manager.
I installed that for Stable Diffusion the other day.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
What are you running that in?
Stable Diffusion?
Or the whole your Conda setup. Are you running it in a Windows subsystem for Linux? They need a better WSL2. They really need a better name for that thing. Are you running it in one of those instances?
No, I just installed Mini Conda on the Windows in PowerShell and I'm running it there.
Okay.
It works shockingly well.
Interesting. So I know we have questions to get to. WSL2 supports CUDA on NVIDIA now directly.
Mm-hmm.
So like you don't even need special drivers. The regular drivers that NVIDIA distributes for everything supports CUDA in WSL2 now. So you can actually do all of your AI-driven Python stuff directly in Linux on Windows now. I
wonder if there's perf differences because everybody recommends using the Mini Conda install.
Yeah.
And like it spikes when I do Stable Diffusion. If I have the settings right, it uses all 24 gigs of memory on the 4090 and spikes the GPU. Like it's literally the only thing that's made the fan spin up in that GPU since I got it.
So I mostly know this because John Carmack, he's like running an AI startup now.
Yeah.
Like he was tweeting about this exact issue that he had such a pain setting up Conda and PyTorch and the stuff he needed for AI work in Windows. And like a bunch of the replies were like, dude, just run it in WSL2. And some of those people said this seems super anecdotal, but some of those people said that they felt like it performed better in Linux. In fact, I think a couple of them said they had benchmarked it.
Yeah, I mean, it should be something that's easy to benchmark, and it like also the version of Python. I wonder if the version of Python you're using makes a difference because it could be that because I think the Stable Diffusion stuff only supports 3.10 rather. It doesn't support 3.11.
That's probably right.
So
Python, man, what a mess.
Yeah, Python.
I want to mess with that stuff myself if I get my hands on an Ada card at some point.
It is. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, it's stupid and fun in a very like, hey, what can I do with this weird fractal generator way from like 1993?
Yes, but it also like, man, I promise we'll get to some questions eventually. It seems like it would be a really good idea to get up to speed on setting stuff like that up in general now, because there's stuff like Whisper out there, which is the AI driven transcription routine. So like it's way more than just generating stupid AI art now or whatever. I think there are going to be more and more functional tools that just make people's lives easier, like every day soon.
That's the thing. And already, like, honestly, even with the Stable Diffusion stuff, I've been doing. I might start a Tumblr image blog and go back to like 1919 or 2008, I guess, of shit I've generated on Stable Diffusion. Cause like it's so throwaway and easy to just jam something out real quick.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
It's pretty fun.
There's obviously there are ethical considerations around like using it for commercial purposes, but for things like just making a dumb, started to say Twitter avatar, but let's say a social platform of choice avatar.
Yeah, your social forward. Platform.
It's fine for that stuff. Okay, all right. Questions.
We're going to turn Q's of days. Do you want to read them?
Yes.
I can take over reading responsibilities just this once if you need.
Up to you. I think I'm okay.
Okay, go for it. Let it rip.
All right, let's start with a question from Millhouse Phoenix. What type of long weekend do you prefer? Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or Sunday? God, let me try it. I swear I know the order of the days of the week. Let me try this again. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Can I throw out a big brain answer here?
Wait, is there a third alternative?
I like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Oh, well, I mean, look, I think most people would agree a 4-day weekend is better than a 3.
Yeah.
Oh, they did just say long weekend, to be fair.
Yeah, they did not specify. And it's like sometimes you get both, which is the ultimate. I mean, like, look, I like a Thanksgiving. I like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like that Thursday feels like it's just like a gift. It's The
4-day weekend is amazing because of what it does. Well, specifically the Thursday, Friday is amazing because of what it does to the week prior.
You mean the non-week? That's a week that nobody works.
Like a 3-day week is barely a week. I mean,
Yeah.
Granted, when you're in like scheduled internet content, you have to make the content, you have to do the work regardless, but still.
It's funny because aside from retail and the people who work in content, no one else in like no business happens on that Thanksgiving.
I mean, I worked at places like CNET and CBS for long enough to know that the people who don't have daily deliverables like I do.
Yeah. They're all gone.
Are the fuck out of there at 3 o'clock and probably drank through lunch.
Yeah. I missed drinking through lunch. That was fun.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'll take a Monday off over a Friday off any day.
Yes, I agree with you. My reasoning is that the 3-day weekend is the real prize, but then the 4-day week after that is a nice bonus to like just when you're sad that your 3-day weekend is over and you have to go back to work, and then you're like, oh, but it's only a 4-day week. That's like a nice way to ease yourself back in.
Can I just I would love to hear. I also know that there's some people on the Discord who are working at places that are experimenting with 4-day work weeks.
Yeah,
I would be very curious to hear how that's going for them, because I often find that if I have really busted ass all week on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, like really going hard, Friday, I'm basically useless.
Sure.
So to me, I would much rather bust ass 4 days and just not worry about being useless on Friday than coming in and feeling like I'm not doing as good as I could.
Yes, it sounds great. I see nothing but praise for it. Young Horses, developer of Bug Snacks and Octodad.
Yeah, a friend of the show, Phil Tibbs.
Phil Tibbs might have some feedback for us. Maybe we should ask him sometime.
Yeah, I know a couple of other studios that have gone 4-day work weeks as well this year, so I'm kind of curious. Anyway.
Yes. Anyway. Okay. Oh boy, I have got to remember the fine art of talking and also picking the next question at the same time.
Look, you're doing good to be vertical.
Thank you. David Ellis, another friend of the show, asks, what was the first model of computer you remember using? For me, it was an Atari 400 at a babysitter's house. What is an Atari 400? I've never heard of that.
It was a Atari console with a keyboard, I think.
Does that predate the whatever generation the ST was from? It must, right? The ST was like 90s, wasn't it?
I do not. This is a time of computer that I know very little about.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, the 400 is part of the 8-bit Atari computer line. So the Atari 400 and 800. Oh, wow.
Is it like a half RAM 800 or something?
The 400 is from 1979. So that is an extremely early personal computer. I'm reasonably sure it's just the console, the original Atari 2600 with a computer form
with a keyboard on it. Yeah,
that is possible. That is entirely possible.
I should have looked that up. I'm sorry.
Gosh, for me, so I know we've talked about this before. My family did not get a computer until 1984.
Okay.
Like well into the 486 era. So prior to that, I was occasionally seeing computers at friends' houses. My one friend's dad had, so I remember playing the D&D gold box game Hillsfar on their computer. Do you remember that game?
No.
Or do you remember, you know what I'm talking about?
I remember the D&D gold box games, but I never played any of them.
When did Hillsfar?
D&D was for nerds, Brad.
This friend was also very into D&D. When did Hillsfar come out? I bet people on the Discord have played this game. It's one of those classic gold box games. Sorry, I'm filling poorly.
I think
1989. So,
oh wow.
What was the big was it still 286 and 89?
386. So I got my 386 in 92, and it was on the, like, you could get a 486 at that point. So really? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember. That transition happened while I was in high school, though.
Okay. I am going to say that's probably, it was an IBM PC or clone that was a 286 or 386. Oh, I also learned, started to say I learned to type on a 286 in high school, but that was later. Those were just very old at that point.
Yeah, we had a TI-99 4A. The entire school system bought TI-99 4As for each classroom, and the parents, you could tack on to their price for them when TI was dumping them because they were bad. And so we had one in, I think, starting when I was in third grade, that the teacher never looked at and just sat on a table in the back of the room, plugged in and never doing anything. But then they were like, you have expressed interest in this, so you can go to this classroom and dink around with in the classroom with 3 of the computers sometimes. And so I got to do that and like do some basic stuff. And that led to them giving me access to the one Apple II that we had, which was fun. I learned how to do like basic code and stuff like that.
Wow. In the entire school?
Yeah, we had one. It was in the principal. It was in like the staff room at the elementary school with like the
coffee maker and the fridge.
It had a coffee maker for sure, and then it also had like the big paper cutter and the laminator and all that stuff.
More like a workroom than a break room, probably.
I mean, I'm going to go and tell you, in Tennessee, they couldn't afford a workroom and a break room. Are you kidding?
All in one, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, duh. Yes, okay. You remind my grade school. My grade school had a lab, a straight up computer lab with like probably a dozen Apple IIe's in it.
Wow, that's pretty good. Apple II, yeah. Like it doesn't. The Apple II was really fun. Like I learned a lot of stuff on the Apple II, and it had Oregon Trail, which was dope.
I don't know what the 2E. Like everybody always talks about the Apple II, and
2E,
I don't know what the
E is just the education. E means it's the one they sold into education.
A third model of Apple II. The E stands for enhance.
Oh, never mind then.
Oh, okay. It says referring to the fact that several popular features were now built in that were formerly only available as upgrades or add-ins, add-on cards.
Well, there you go.
Yes. Number Munchers and Oregon Trail are what I remember of.
Number Munchers, man. I played a Number Munchers clone on the TI, but I never played. We played Hunt the Wumpus.
Ooh.
Did a lot of Oregon Trail. I feel like there was another game that I could never exactly figure out how to play it on the Apple II that somebody had probably pirated and put on there. It was unclear to me who used that computer other than me. Like I don't ever remember anybody being there. It was on the work table in that workroom. So you had to stand up to use it. Like there was no chair or anything. It was really weird.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Did you do Logo Writer?
I did not do Logo Writer. I did make a database that they could like the project that they gave me for that was make a database we can store all the kids' grades in.
Whoa.
So I did a database so you could store all the kids' grades in.
Oh my God. In what? Basic?
Fuck if I know. Probably there was some sort of database program that they had bought or a spread. It was it was a spreadsheet at that point, but it wasn't. There was no mouse, obviously.
Sorry, I thought you meant you wrote it from scratch.
No. I wrote a front end. Basically, I built forms. If I recall right, I think I made forms that were text entry forms, and then the secretary who was in charge of typing all the grades in didn't want to fool with it because I think her thought was they could just print out the report cards instead of having to type them all. Anyway.
Well, all right.
I learned a lot. I think that was the whole point. The point was that they wanted me to learn something and get out of stop annoying the 5th grade teacher who didn't want me asking questions that she didn't know the answer to.
Sure.
Yeah. I was a problem.
Personal enrichment. Look.
Yes.
Independent learning. Okay. Question from the Moon Room.
Mm-hmm.
Should I get a Steam Deck now or wait for a future revision?
I think that there's going to be a lot more Steam Deck looking things that are probably compatible with Steam Deck OS soon.
Oh, compatible with. Okay, interesting. That was going to be some version of my answer because the Aya Neo 2 actually, it's not out. I think it might just be getting previewed right now, but that thing is noticeably more powerful than a Steam Deck, and I think has a 1080p screen. So like SteamOS compatibility notwithstanding, there absolutely are more powerful handhelds on the way than a Steam Deck, like as we speak.
Yeah, the thing I'll say is I think the Steam Deck does a pretty good job of like it threads the needle pretty well of like performance and battery life, and it has good Wi-Fi so you can stream from your desktop PC if you have a nice desktop PC. Like it's a pretty good package. It's a little heavy. If I was complaining, I'd rather have a lighter one than a faster one, probably.
Physically heavy, you mean?
Yeah.
I should qualify what I just said by, let me think, how should I don't think there will be as elegant a device as the Steam Deck in that space until the next Steam Deck, like top to bottom, like fit and finish of the hardware, like the, features and compatibility of SteamOS and how that hooks into Steam and everything. Like I was reading all the Aya handhelds just run Windows with some janky Aya game launcher. Like you're not going to get the Steam Deck experience with one of those things.
Yeah, the Linux thing is really good. It's still like the fact that you can use that, you have no idea that it's Linux unless you choose to dip into the Linux desktop is really compelling.
Yes.
So honestly, I wish that I could put Steam I wish I could get the version of Steam OS, the UI that's on Steam OS on desktop Steam and on Steam Links at this point, because it's a dramatically better interface for like that kind of device.
Yeah. I really wonder how fast Valve is going to rev that thing, because like, you know, there are Zen 4 RDNA 3 APUs coming, which, you know, the Steam Deck and the IS stuff, everybody that's doing x86 handhelds is using AMD APUs. And so basically the next generation version of that with newer CPU and GPU cores, and also it's on a lower process or smaller process, so it should be more energy efficient as well.
I mean, that's such is the way of things, right?
Yeah. I don't know how fast Valve is looking to get a Steam Deck 2 out there, or if they'll even call it that.
Yeah, it's like if it's a thing that you feel like you could use, I could see buying another one. It's not a device that I intend to do a lot of upgrading on. Like I'll run it for as long as I would run like a 3DS or a Switch or something like that. And when the onboard hardware starts getting too slow to play the games that I want to play, I'll just start streaming them from my PC, because most of the time I use it inside the house. So I started to say at the top of that question, standard disclaimer: if you want it, just go ahead and get it. If you want to play portable PC games right now, just go ahead and get a Steam Deck. But yeah, I think if you're looking at that, like that Logitech thing that they announced that's just for streaming games, I would rather have the Steam Deck, and the ability, like having the ability to play the games locally is really convenient.
Yeah. Question from Crashdown. What's the highest wattage power supply you've ever installed in a PC, and does it sound insane in hindsight? 1,000 watts certainly does for me.
I had a 1,600 watt PC power supply at a time when I had, I put in a Dream Machine when we had two of those dual GPU boards that AMD and NVIDIA were selling at one point.
Oh,
like the 5950 or something like that. I can't remember.
5950.
It was like a DX9.
AMD cards? Those are 5950. Is that a Radeon?
I think it was a Radeon. Maybe it was a 9550, 9950. But it was a 2 GPU DX10, early DX10 card, and you could put two of them in there. So we did that, and it needed a big giant power supply. And it was stupid. I would never run that in a PC that I owned. I don't think. I had a 1,200 watt power supply in my desktop PC for a while, but that was just because it was what was around.
I am looking at specs for a Radeon 5950 that looks about like the time period you're describing. Anyway, I just put a 1,000 watt PSU in this PC, and that is by far the biggest I have ever had.
Yep, it was the 5950. It was basically two 5800s, I think, on a single card, and you could put two of them in pair. So, and it used a 4-pin, an 8-pin, and a 6-pin PCI Express power each.
Yeah,
it was a giant beefy boy.
Yeah. And anyway, we talked about power supplies quite a bit with Gordon a couple weeks ago. So if you didn't hear that episode, go back and listen. He's got a bunch of info about the ATX 3.0 standard, I think. It's got a bunch of smart features in the power supply. Like, that sounds amazing. Like, it's kind of mind-blowing in retrospect, thinking about what he talked about, that this didn't exist previously, that the power supply and the PC can have a dialogue now where basically the power supply can tell the PC, like, hey, stop clocking stuff so high because you're going to crash this machine. I can't give you enough power for what you want to do. Okay, well, I got a little bit of bad news for you, Brad. Oh, because we talked about this on the Full Geek when I was over at the PC World office with Gordon and Adam the other day. Last week, I guess. But the people are reporting that adapter that NVIDIA is shipping is melting. Oh yeah, no, I've seen all that stuff. That's terrifying. Is that exactly what you're using? I have not had that. It is exactly what I'm using. I have not had that. I've not experienced that. Yikes. If I were you, I might see if Cable Mod is selling third-party ones yet. I'm gonna build a new PC very soon now. That sounds really scary. Sounds like if you don't flex that thing too much, if you don't bend it, it's probably fine. So the take, not to scaremonger here and then send you to the other podcast to listen, but the takeaway is it's too early to tell if it's a real problem or if it's something that is happening when people do things that are unadvised, like bending the cables really hard so they don't have a good connection on two of the pins and stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah. And like, as is always the case, I'm confident in the manufacturer to like support warranty and fix the cards that are affected. So it's not like anybody's going to be out of luck on a $1,600 video card. Yeah. Question from Warbird. Oh no. Which is not about football or my dishwasher. Oh, phew. I'm debating getting a System 76 or Frame. Those are separate, right? System 76 and Framework have nothing to do with each other, right? They're different manufacturers. System 76 is the Pop OS outfit, and Framework is the modular laptop
Yeah.
I want to get my hands on a framework so bad. Like the whole philosophy of a fully modular upgradable laptop is so fascinating to me.
I kind of was thinking about, you should go and read the whole question.
Yeah, let me read the question. I'll read it the way he wrote it. I'm debating getting a System 76 slash framework laptop. I think he means one or the other. Would either of you consider getting a Linux laptop as a secondary device for general use and or puttering around? If I hadn't just gotten that MacBook Pro, which is, as I've said, the best laptop I've ever used, meaning if I didn't already have the laptop thing covered, I would love to have a Linux laptop to mess around with.
Yeah, I think I'm much more likely to get the framework. The framework's really conceptually, like I'm just curious about it as a product.
Yeah. Yes.
The System 76, I think in order to use a Linux laptop, you have to either work in Linux on the day-to-day, which I don't.
Yeah.
Or you need to be a true believer, which I'm not.
Yes.
So if I was buying if I'm buying a device, like honestly, if I'm buying a device for putting around, I'm probably going to get another iPad because I haven't had one in a while. And I find myself doing reading on the phone often enough that I'm like, I wish this was a big thing instead of a little thing.
Yeah.
I think either an iPad Air or the M1 iPad Air or the small Pro is probably in my future.
Yeah. Does System 76 make Pop OS? Do you know? Is that theirs? I think that's right.
Do not know.
I think that's anyway.
This isn't going to surprise you, but I don't really keep up on the Linux distro scene very much these days.
I think I am slowly accumulating an embarrassing amount of information about the fine distinctions between different Linux distros.
This is fantastic. This is good for the podcast.
So like I'm neck deep in Linux these days, but it's all on headless machines. I've got like 5 Raspberry Pis now and this NAS that's now running Linux and WSL2 and stuff. Like those are all just command line only. And I would love to have a Linux desktop to mess with, but none of the machines I have fit that role. Yeah. And that's why a Linux laptop would be fun, because then I could mess around with different desktop environments and stuff like that.
There is something to be said for that. I'm happy with Linux living in the command line for me.
But yes, that's primarily like I am extremely Windows for a desktop, Mac for a laptop, and Linux for headless server-y stuff.
Yep.
Is my ongoing philosophy personally. Okay. Gosh. I had a question. I cannot find it.
Do you want to do this Uzi one?
Sure. Do you have it in front of you?
Yeah, I do. I replaced the fan in my PS2 with a Noctua, and it's nearly silent. If you watch any retro computing YouTube channel, they're always replacing fans with modern ones to make them quieter. What innovation in the fan space has there been over the last 20 or 30 years? Why are fans quieter now?
Good call. That was one of the ones I had marked to read.
This is a weird one, right? Because like, it's not like we're making ball bearings more precise now.
Yeah,
right?
I was wondering if you had a mechanical explanation for this, because I sure don't.
There's definitely the technology to make fans quieter. We're probably better at modeling airflow and noise and turbulence on the blades now. But I think the big thing is that there's actually enough volume in fan sales now that there's market space for somebody to sell a 5 times, 10 times price normal, 10 times the commodity price fan that has benefits, whether it's higher airflow or lower noise or whatever. So it's just that the market is huge rather than that there's new technology. I mean, there's definitely like new bearings and stuff. Like people are inventing new bearings and new types of motors and like new twists on the old technology of motors for a long time. But I think it's just that the market for fans is way bigger now than it was in the 90s.
Yeah, that seems right. And Noctuas, you absolutely are paying a premium for those,
yeah.
but I find it to be pretty much worth it so far.
Yeah, I'll happily pay the Noctua price. I
gotta have that beige beige life.
I wish they'd do some fancy RGB ones too, but whatever.
They have the, what is it? Chromax Black is the name of their black fan line.
Yeah.
If you really need like all your hardware to be,
I want it to look like hackers in here, man.
To look like a gun. Yeah. I love those beige fans. Also, the idea of a Noctua in a PS2 is incredible. Like, I don't know why I'd never even considered that, but that rules. I mean,
I'm going to put a Noctua in it. Might as well be like 35 YouTube channels that I see pop up in my feed all the time.
Yes, it is. They're one of those companies that inspires loyalty because they're pretty, like the products are great.
Yeah.
The support is incredible.
I've never bought a bad fan from them.
Like they started shipping an adapter in their little 5 volt fans like I stuck on my Mister after I bought one, like 2 years after I bought one. I emailed them asking like, hey, do you sell these adapters separately? I can't find it. They're like, oh, we'll just ship you one. Just give us your address. And like 3 weeks later, a package postmarked from Austria showed up with that adapter.
That's amazing.
That is like customer for life stuff. Like I will happily evangelize companies that treat you that well.
I mean, in fairness, that's what you can do when you sell something that everybody else sells for $5 for $30,
for
right?
15 maybe.
Yeah.
Their coolers are incredible though. Like I bought my first actual CPU cooler from them for this NAS rebuild, and like easily the most user-friendly cooler install I've ever done. Just great all around.
Yep. Premium product. I like it.
Yeah. This question from Meatball. What do you think?
I like this one.
Yeah. Okay.
I highlighted it.
Hey guys, I've been an Android phone and Microsoft PC user forever and have avoided going Apple for anything based on the whole "you're holding it wrong" attitude. Plus, I like having more control over my devices and operating system. I'm really due for a new phone, still rocking a Galaxy S9 Plus, and looking at the new crop of Pixels and Galaxy phones, I'm starting to think that maybe I should consider an iPhone, primarily based on their privacy and security stance. I believe you guys have moved over to iPhones and was hoping you might have some words of encouragement that'll push me over the edge. I've actually never had since the... Oh, no, I take that back. Since the iPhone 3G, I did use that Windows phone that you gave me.
You had an Android phone for a little bit too, didn't you?
And then, yes, I had it was some kind
like an LG or something,
LG,
I think.
It was an LG of some kind.
Yeah.
It was not super fancy, but yeah, so I have, but primarily iPhone. And then you've used a crap load of phones for work, right?
So I've been off and on. Like the last time I reliably was an Android person was in the iPhone 10. Like I used the first Pixel and the second Pixel, and then I actually sent the second Pixel back because I liked it a lot less than the iPhone 10. So this is a healthy attitude. Hey, I made a snap decision 15 years ago because, like, realistically, you're holding it wrong was for the iPhone 10, which was in 2010, I think. iPhone 4, which was in 2010.
I'm sorry. Have they ever actually uttered those words? Oh, was this the antenna gate?
This is the antenna thing.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So this was, if you recall, the first time they had the metal housing, and if you put your hand over, in fairness, was a problem. They fucked up on the design of the phone because they assumed that people weren't going to hold it in a specific way. And it's the way everybody holds their phone. So if you shorted out the connection between two of the pieces of metal that made the outside frame of the phone, it basically made your signal reception go to nothing, which is a clear problem. They ended up giving everybody free phone bumpers because of it.
Right.
The phone.
Okay. I remember the bumpers. Yes.
But Jobs famously replied in an email to somebody, "You're holding it wrong."
Of course.
Which like, I mean, look, it's no surprise Steve Jobs, kind of an asshole, even on the best of days.
Like, he's not a great person, but I miss his brand of assholishness because it was just so outlandish.
Well, and it was charming because he would, like, the benefit you can say now, looking at the people who've emulated him with comedic tragic results, is that at least he was had good taste.
Yes.
And listened to the smart people instead of the idiots.
Right. Like, at least the products that they were delivering were consistently amazing while he was there. Like, he kind of backed up his shittiness with good stuff, at least.
Yeah. At the end of the day, he got results.
Also, I would like to think he would not have sucked up to dictators. And anyway,
it's a whole other conversation. The point is, the privacy security stance is the first marketing bullshit that's come from Apple in years that I actually think is I mean, whether you believe that Apple doesn't sell your data, which I tend to, because they're big enough that, and people watch them enough that if they got caught doing that, they'd have a real problem.
Yeah. I
think it's actually a really good differentiator between Apple and the other tech companies.
Yeah. What was the real flashpoint around that stuff? Wasn't it a phone from the San Bernardino shooting investigation? I think there was some. There've
been a series of investigations that Apple's like, we have no access to the data. We cannot give it to you. We're not going to put backdoors on our phone.
Yeah, had several high profile refusals to even if they could, refusals to get into private data for law enforcement and stuff like that.
Well, and that combined with like their approach to updating and privacy, like the update path for iPhones is well established. So they tell you, in June which iPhones are going to be supported with the next update. And so you have six to 12 months to prepare for no more security updates for your old phones. So it's not just the privacy side, it's also the security side, because with both of those comes together. But it's more about stuff like hey, do you want to not let this app track you? Like that flag alone, I mean, it decimated Facebook's stock price.
Yeah.
Like that is the thing that kicked off the downfall for Facebook, that caused them to change their name and focus on AR and all sorts of other nonsense. The not letting, like, honestly, the way they phrased that, so it made it seem like a bad thing if you let them track you, so that everybody who doesn't pay attention to this stuff like this, it's the first time normal people cared about that stuff, is when Apple made that flag. And I mean, it is twisting the knife. It's fun to watch because it's like wrestling for tech companies, where they're making these big performative moves that change market caps of $1 trillion companies.
Yeah, dude. You're making me realize when we're having to root for $1 trillion corporation to take down another one, like, we're not in the best spot necessarily.
Look, man, I'm Wayland Yutani for life. Fuck those other guys. But yeah. So the point is, you made a good point. The big TLDR is, hey, if you care about privacy, I think the iPhone is a safer bet than Android phones at this point.
For sure. I mean, like a couple iOSs ago, they started making apps that you download have to opt into accessing your local network. Like, yeah, like you're like, if an app wants to like look for, if it's using multicast to look for a printer or like something like that, where it needs to access anything outside of itself and the internet, like it actually has to ask you, hey, do you want to let this app?
Well, I mean, that's a feature flag thing, and Android has had that for a long time, but also there's a litany of apps that bypass the feature flags, because I think for a long time they were just self-reported, not actually monitored. So yeah, I don't know. I tend to go, like, Apple has nice cameras. The privacy thing is nice. My wife uses an iPhone, which means she uses iMessage, and basically, if you use iMessage, if you regularly communicate with somebody that uses iMessage, you should probably just get an iPhone. Is the like that's the downside. That's the dark side of this whole thing, right?
There is that for sure.
Is that they're real good at lock-in over at Apple.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, I love open tinkery platforms as much as anybody, but to me, the phone is the one thing that you have in the tech space that you want to just work all the time, right?
It is the most important computer that I use on the, like, if my desktop PC goes down, I can use my phone and I'll be fine.
Right.
If my phone goes down, my desktop PC is almost, but not quite useless.
Yes. Like I think of the phone as an appliance, because like it's too critical for, emergency situations and stuff like that. They definitely still have, the last thing I'll say, they definitely still have a little bit of the prescriptive attitude about stuff. Like they finally rolled out editing the lock screen, right, with the new iOS. It's still pretty inflexible about how you can edit it. Like they're like they have a very strong opinion about how many widgets you should have on your home screen, and it's a very low number. And if you think you should have more than that, too bad.
Like, I wanted to put I set up a focus for podcasting, so I have just the apps that we use on our phones on my screen, and turn off notifications. And I wanted to set up an autoresponder for text that says, hey, I'm podcasting, I'll get back to you in about an hour. I can't do that. It won't let me do that. It lets you do autoresponders for some focuses, but not others. It's real weird.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. It's fine.
Everything's trade-offs, but I think that they, for the most part, they have made a pretty good set of trade-offs.
I will happily trade a little bit of customizability for extreme reliability.
Yes.
That said, my iPhone 14 crashes all the fucking time, and I think I'm gonna have to send it back and get I think I might have gotten a dud.
Yikes.
It doesn't feel great.
How I'm trying to think how to even ask this question. Like, this is such a strange thing. Like, what defines a lemon or a dud in that space? Like, software is software, right? Like, byte for byte, unless the storage is corrupted somehow, like it should be running the exact same code as every other phone. Well,
but I mean, there's always work done on the line as they're going, where they realize that the fit on a heat a thermal pad is not exactly right, or something like that. So or they have a bad batch of memory come through, or whatever. There's always, like, a cosmic ray hit the silicon bowl when they were cutting the wedges, and my CPU is in a spot where it passes the tests, but maybe has a problem when it's under load or something.
Sure. That makes sense.
The way I found last time this came up, because I had one other that was kind of bad. They had me go to the page that has all the crash reports in iOS in the settings tab. And if there were a certain number of springboard crashes, then they were just like, oh yeah, we'll just give you a new phone. Because like they know that Springboard's pretty reliable. They know that there's not a bunch of crashes happening. If Marvel Snap is crashing like crazy, then they're like, oh, it's a video game. It's probably just bad code. We normally see 2 Springboard crashes a year on a normal user. You've had 10 in the month you've had this phone. We'll send you a new one.
Yeah.
I just don't want to have to reset it's just such a pain in the ass to change phones. I don't want to do it again.
I get it. I thought the transfer this last time a few months ago was the easiest transfer I've done, though.
It is, but it's still like I have to change the Google, the where my Google keys for my super lockdown accounts. And like, it's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Millhouse Phoenix getting a twofer this month.
A double.
As users of social media and Discord, do you partake in the annual spooky name tradition? And if so, what's the best name you've come up with?
Ill Sith for life.
Ill Sith is pretty good. The first year I ever did it, I came up with Blood Soul Taker.
That's pretty good.
And like you, I was like, I'm probably not going to do better than that. I take that back. I slightly lean toward Vlad over Blood.
Oh, Vlad's pretty good too, because it's like Brad but with a V.
Yes, you get the assonance there.
Yeah, but, I think Gary's Gravy Witta is my favorite.
It's not bad. Is that a Thanksgiving one?
That's his Thanksgiving one.
It would get cloying after a while, but I kind of like the idea of people just going ham on holidays and constantly coming up with terrible wordplay.
Hell yeah. I mean, they do it. It's part of the Christmas to Easter death window, or Halloween to Easter death window.
Oh God. What is that? Just 6 months of indulgence?
Well, okay. If you have a kid from Halloween to Easter, you're going to have candy in the house. Candy, cookies, some sort of garbage.
Sure.
It's just a nonstop inundation of terrible for you food.
I mean, there's a kind of a brief respite between like New Year's and Valentine's, right?
I mean, I don't know. There's probably Martin Luther King Day candy now. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, plus, I don't know about your house, but my house, we're working through Nog usually through mid-January.
Oh, God, the Nog. Y'all doing the Nog this year?
I don't know, man. My relationship with Nog changed a little bit after the gallbladder incident last year.
God, right. I forgot about that. I'm sorry.
Like last time I had a sip of Nog, it put me in the hospital for 4 days.
Yeah.
Maybe is the answer. I don't know if I'm going to make 5 gallons again.
That's a lot of Nog.
It was a shitload of Nog.
That is a lot of Nog. Scoot has a question.
Okay.
What are your cereals of choice? I'm currently enjoying a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which I justified buying by saying I don't need to eat the boring cereals. I'm a grown adult and I can do what I want until my body catches up with me, at least.
Yeah.
I have moved into the boring cereals as I've gotten older. I like pretty much Grape Nuts are the only cereal that I keep around on a regular basis at this point.
Grape Nuts are nice because they never go stale.
Yeah, they last those. That's good survival food. A lot of calories too. Like if you really can't get your hands on any other food, Grape Nuts will keep you going for a while. Do
you do any, like I like a mushy banana and I'll mush a banana into some Grape Nuts with the milk.
Ooh,
I like that a lot.
You mean like mashed banana straight up? Like
I'll slice it, but I want it to be soft. I want the slices. I want like ideally if the banana is so hard that the nuts don't stick to it, you've messed up.
Oh man, that dude. I used to love banana and Cheerios back in the day. What? Wait, how is that?
I don't like Cheerios. Cheerios get too soggy, man.
Yeah, sure. You got to eat Cheerios fast. Man, that's a good idea though. I gotta. What got me back into Grape Nuts was realizing how much sugar is in granola.
Oh yeah, granola is like candy, basically.
Yes. So I started subbing Grape Nuts in for granola in like yogurt, stuff like that.
Oh yeah. I'll do little brown sugar and Grape Nuts and then put it in the microwave, warm that up sometimes.
Oh. I never even thought about warm grape nuts.
Look, you can Grape Nuts is the cereal. You can do everything with it,
man.
But I'm a Captain Crunch man through and through.
Yeah,
if live by the crunch, die by the crunch.
I mean, if we're just talking like to go for broke, like health is out the window. God, yeah, Captain Crunch is like if the captain did not so consistently lacerate the roof of your mouth every time you sailed the high seas with him, I would say that might be the number one cereal, but there is that drawback.
First off, if you engage it with the captain enough, eventually you develop calluses. But B, you don't chew it with your tongue and your soft palate. You chew it with your teeth. So don't eat such a fucking huge spoonful, man. You'll be fine.
Fine. God, I haven't had Captain Crunch in so long.
So So let's see. I'll do a Captain Crunch. I like a Frosted Mini Wheat. Okay.
Yeah, those are not bad. Those talk about getting soggy though.
You know what? They varnish them with something now, so they don't get as soggy as they used to. The Life. I like a Life because you think it's healthy, but you might as well have a bowl of ice cream as have a light bowl of Life cereal or Frosted Mini Wheats.
Wait, really? Is it that bad?
Look, I had this conversation. I had pitched noted podcasters with hey, we should do a cereal podcast called Serial. Around the time Serial podcast, the murder podcast came out, just to confuse issues. And turns out they were already doing it, so it was a little late. But the upshot is, I looked at the caloric value of a not serving size, but like the size people actually make of a bowl of cereal with whole milk and a bowl of ice cream, because I was having cereal for dessert sometimes, because why not live Moss. It turns out you might as well just have a bowl of ice cream.
Okay, that's good to know.
A small bowl of ice cream, like you have a scoop of a nice ice cream. That's a big bowl of cereal.
Kix, you ever?
Fuck Kix, man. That's like depression area. That's cereal that guy invented so that people wouldn't masturbate as much. Brad,
wait, what?
Do you not know the origins of cereal?
Oh no!
The cereal puffers were built by people who believed that people were losing their vital essences to too much masturbation, so they wanted to make food that would be bland enough to discourage any kind of self pleasure.
This is
100% a fact.
You cannot be.
Nope.
Wait, but I'm on the Kix website. They have
they don't fucking put it on the Kix website, man. This is cereal's dark legacy.
Dude, they make like berry Kix now. That sounds pretty good. Honey Kix?
Kix are cereal. I'm saying no to Kix.
I'm trying to say, okay, about Kix. Hang on. Wow, you're right. There sure is no mention of the origin of Kix.
I don't know that Kix was actually the cereal that was invented for this, but the point is the puffer was invented. The puffer was invented. Cereal was invented to provide a bland food that would discourage impure thoughts, thanks to our legacy of Puritanism in the United States.
You mean to deny any pleasure whatsoever?
Also, if this turns out to be an urban legend / not true, I don't know that I want to know the difference, because I love the idea that Captain Crunch's origin was in like anti-masturbation food.
Look, get your moralizing cereal out of here.
Yeah. Look, we all know that the Yummy Mummy and Boo Berry are a non-traditional couple, and we appreciate them.
The Yummy Mummy?
Do you not know about the Yummy Mummy? Part of the GM family, so General Mills family of Halloween cereals.
So, okay, there's Boo Berry, or no.
Count Chocula, Boo Berry, Frankenberry.
Wait, there's two. Did they really do two berries? That's a cop out.
Look, man,
Boo Berry and Frankenberry.
Well, here's the thing: they cycle them, so you don't get Yummy Mummy every year.
Hang on, I have to Google Yummy Mummy.
This year was a Count Chocula and Boo Berry year, from what I could tell. We didn't see any Yummy Mummy or Frankenberry.
I don't know, man. I type Yummy Mummy in here, and the only thing that came up is a breast pump. Oh, here we go. Okay.
You got to put cereal after it. If you put boob after it, you're going to get
many results down the page. Here is, in fact, a cereal called Yummy Mummy. Also, when I Googled Kix, which is Kix, I was a little disturbed to see that Kix the band came up way before Kix the cereal.
I'm going to go and tell you, because Kix is punishment cereal. You get that when you've been bad.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Vanilla flavored marshmallows. It's part of this. Look, the GM, this is the dark universe we deserve. We need a movie universe of the GM cereal mascots. Count Chocula, Boo Berry. They're going out solving some crimes. That'd be fucking cool, man.
I could see Tom Cruise as Count Chocula.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe. Get what's his name? The Australian guy, Hugh Jackman. He can be the Yummy Mummy.
Okay, sure. I could see it.
Sounds great.
Here's a question that I'm going to attempt to dispense some knowledge about. Ooh. I hope I've got this right. Ray in reverse. Why is the write speed so dramatically variable when moving files to an external hard drive? For instance, a folder of pictures, all the same file type, yet the write speed fluctuates dramatically. I assume you're probably running into IOPS limits there, input-output operations per second. So basically, you have a blank stare. Now I'm starting to worry.
I'm looking something up.
Okay, you're looking something up. So this is my lay understanding. I could always be wrong. Anybody who actually works in this field can correct me, but essentially every time you interact with a file on a drive, there is a minimum amount of overhead that has to happen as, like OS queries, whatever index or table has to access nodes in the file system, et cetera, et cetera. I'm kind of generalizing with terms here, but basically there is some minimum amount of milliseconds, would you say, or even smaller units of overhead time that is involved with every transaction. And so when you have a bunch of tiny files, even though they might take a split second to transfer, that overhead, that access overhead still has to happen for each file.
That's exactly it. So you're writing to the MFT, and if you're writing to a physical spinning platter, then the MFT is usually stored in a different location on the drive than the actual file is. So the physical head has to move from the place the file gets saved to the MFT, the master file table, and then back again, over and over and over again. There are file systems that do this better and worse.
Yes, for sure. I have, whatever. I started to get into some Linux minutia, but maybe I'll save it. But that's why, if you're watching the Windows file copy dialog, for example, you'll see it slow way down when the files are flying by one. But then if it hits some 2 gig file, you'll see the transfer speed fly way back up, because then it's hitting max throughput.
This is why if you're copying a whole boatload of small files, it's faster to tar gzip them and then copy them and then untar gzip them than it is just copy the bunch of small files.
Yeah, of course, you still have to go through all the tarring them. You have to deal with those limits on that end as you tar them, but that's still probably faster to do that locally.
Yeah, and I feel like there's something about the way tar works that makes it go faster because it does all the writes at once rather than individual writes. I can't remember.
That is possible. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the many reasons I love ZFS so much, because when you send a ZFS data set, it doesn't send file by file. It just sends a bit stream of the block device.
Yeah.
So it doesn't touch limits like that. It just sends at full speed constantly. It's awesome.
Yep.
Another question from, we're getting a lot of twofers this month. Another Warbird. What are some items, tech or otherwise, that you've acquired as of late that have surprised you in their quality? For example, I've gotten a few pairs of Lululemon pants and have been pleasantly surprised by some of their design considerations, like drawstrings having a bit of elastic in them so you can get the shorts off to do your dark bathroom deeds without having to be asked to tie and untie each time. Also, they goddamn comfortable. That is quite
wow, that's painted a real word picture there.
I mean, I wear gym shorts to exercise a lot and stuff, and I get where he's coming from with the stretchy drawstrings, actually.
So when we went to Disneyland, I needed a pair of no-show socks because I was told I couldn't have socks that came up too high.
Told by whom?
People. And I bought about 3 pairs of darn tough $16 no-show socks. They were $16 each
per pair,
not each sock, but per pair.
Yikes. Okay.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
But I was also I knew it was going to be walking 14 hours a day. So I was like, okay, I'm investing in my comfort here. They're the best goddamn socks I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
They are
tough.
Truly ridiculous. You know what sold me on them is they will replace them when they get a hole in them.
What?
Yeah.
Nonsense.
It's called darn tough for a reason, Brad.
Huh.
Yeah. So that was pretty good. I like that a lot. I thought that was pretty cool. I bought a set of X-Acto knives the other day. I've always bought just the onesie cheapo, not the one that comes in the little box with the set. And the problem is because it's not in a little pouch, I always lose one of the pieces at some point. And then I have a razor sharp knife just floating around the drawer with no cover on it or whatever.
It's always great.
So now I have a little box and it has a good zipper. And I have 3 different blades, including the heavy duty one with the screwdriver handle. I used it to carve the pumpkin the other day. Fucking awesome.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I never considered the idea of using an X-Acto on a pumpkin.
I'm going to go and tell you, it goes through a knife like an X-Acto knife goes through pumpkin. It's real easy.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah, piece of cake.
I have a perspective answer for this question.
Okay.
I haven't actually bought the thing yet.
I don't know if that fits the category.
Well, I'm hoping this will. Maybe people can give me recommendations for their item in this category. I'm thinking about getting a bathrobe.
Ooh.
I've never worn or owned a bathrobe in my life, but I'm thinking I might become a robe wearer.
Okay, so there's a wide swath of bathrobes. See, are you thinking about like a terry, like a big thick terry cloth thing? You thinking like a chenille? You thinking like a silk? Are you gonna go kimono here?
My partner has a couple. I think they're both polyester.
Okay.
Robes that she
one material on the outside, a different one on the inside.
I don't know. Wait. What are you making a judgment about polyester?
No, you can get a line. Like the polyester will be on the outside, then you have like terry cloth because like you want something that's going to be a little absorbent, right?
I see. I think it's all one thing. I don't know.
Okay. I could see you pulling off one of like the Kirk like mid thigh, like a high rise.
Oh, I was thinking like a full length trench coat looking.
Okay.
It's about to get cold around here.
It's true. I mean, look, I just bought a heated mattress pad the other day. So.
Wow. What?
Yeah. It's a mattress pad that has heating elements in separate ones on each side.
Like electric ones?
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
And you turn it on before you get in. It warms the bed all up. And then if you get cold in the middle of the night, you just hit it on for a minute and it toasts you right up.
Man, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, we're having a bed revitalization right now. I'm excited. We're ordered a comforter that's like hot on one side and cold on the other side.
Wow. Oh yeah. We've got a couple blankets like that.
Yeah, because I'm always cold and Gina's always hot. So.
Oh, bamboo blanket. How about that?
I'm a goose down duvet man for life.
I sleep very hot. Very hot.
Uh-huh.
Like dangerously hot.
Wow.
Like if I get more than
I didn't think Brad is dangerously hot would be on my bingo card for today, but here we are.
If I get the wrong comforter in the wrong position, like I'm just going to wake up drenched in sweat. Like it sucks.
That's awful.
It's awful.
You sure it's not a thyroid thing? That sounds like a medical condition.
I certainly hope not. I mean, I'm talking like I get like fully wrapped up in the down comforter is what I'm saying.
Oh man, I love being full. That's my favorite place to be in the whole house.
It hasn't happened in a very long time because I've made adjustments to my sleepwear, including a bamboo blanket. It's a blanket made from bamboo fibers.
Okay.
It's
very ecologically friendly.
It's remarkably warm for how thin it is.
Yeah.
I'm getting a look from the door. It was not my idea. It was definitely someone else's brilliant idea.
One of the pigs, clearly.
The look has now become a celebration dance. It's super thin. It's super thin, but like it's very warm for how thin it is, but it's also breathable. So like that and a top sheet, unless it's like just super cold in the house, like that's good. I'm good, and don't get sweaty anymore. So
when the place we were in Palm Desert had a weighted blanket on the couch, which I had never experienced before.
Oh yeah, no, those are good.
Yeah, I'm kind of into that. I think like that was the question we were having is whether we're going to go with the duvet like we have for the last 25 years. We're going to invest in some weighted blanket technology, and I think the answer is probably both at some point. I don't know. We'll see. You want to do one more?
Yeah.
I have some stuff highlighted, but that wasn't a signal. That was just me highlighting idly because I do that.
I noticed we've developed our own wordless communication method via Google Doc as we've been doing these. Well,
I always say, am I highlighting them? And then I forget that when I sit with a text window open, I just idly highlight things constantly.
Oh, I always take, when I see you highlight something in the Google Doc, I take that as a suggestion that we should read that one next.
I realized you probably were doing that, and I'm literally just highlighting it because it's bold. So,
okay. Well, anyway, I was thinking about reading this one from Scoot, although neither of us works in the field, so I don't know what kind of answer we might give, but Scoot asks, if someone were to get into programming today with absolutely zero knowledge, where would you recommend they start? Do you have any insight?
I would say Python is what I've generally been told.
That's definitely what I would recommend language wise. I'm trying to think like resources and use cases, like the thing I've been staring at. So like I do a decent amount of shell scripting, PowerShell and Bash, depending on the OS. Like everybody in the world basically says like, hey, anytime you write more than like 20 lines of shell, you should just go do it in Python instead. And so
I think that's right.
That's been the pathway into Python that I've been eyeballing and putting off for some months. But there is, so this is probably this. Okay, without the benefit of having done this myself, but what I've read about it, I think this is probably like the most practical thing anybody could do wanting to learn some basic programming and specifically Python. There is a free book called Automate the Boring Stuff with Python, which is literally automatetheboringstuff.com. And you can just go read the whole book online, or I think you can buy a physical copy. But from what I've skimmed, it looks like it's a pretty good introduction to both some generalized programming concepts and also some practical advice for just like, hey, you could automate a lot of the things you do on a computer every day with a little bit of basic knowledge in this. So that is That's the thing I am meaning to go through chapter by chapter whenever I get time.
I was talking to some friends about this the other day, and they introduced me to a site called Code Wars, which is a Code Wars. Yeah. And it's like it's like a game around solving CS problems.
Oh, what?
So you can basically choose basically you say, hey, here's how good I am at this. And then it gives you some challenges like, hey, here's a list of generate a list of numbers from 1 to 100 and then change all of the numbers that are divisible by 3 to letters and all the numbers that are prime to letters that are red or something like that. And you say, here's the language I want to do it in. And then it gives you the thing and it tells you how you did at the end and compares you to other people. So you do it's like head to heads and stuff like that. It seemed like a fun way to like turn those kinds of exercises into a little more gamey without actively gamifying them.
Yeah, that sounds super fun. And also it would be really useful if, do you know if they at some point say like, okay, here's how proficient we think you are? Because like that sounds really useful for somebody who knows a little bit and wants to get a little bit more of a quantified answer about how much they know. Each
kata, which is what the small coding exercises are called, are crafted by the community to help you strengthen different coding skills. And they're kind of tiered based on how you're progressing.
Okay.
So it seems a lot like if you ever played Human Resource Machine, it's kind of the same, like Human Resource Machine, that game. It's by the people that made World of Ooze or World of Goo. It kind of teaches you how to do sorts and stuff like that. Like you don't really learn the language, but it's basically you're learning how to build an algorithm that sorts characters through this filtering sieve. But yeah, it seems cool. It's a little broy, but it seemed fun. And my intent is to check it out and put my limited programming abilities to the test.
Yeah, I will definitely check that out. I know Code Academy is another big one that a lot of people like.
That's a good place to start, I think.
Yeah,
if you just want to learn, if you want to start, I guess my point is Code Wars plus some other kind of curricula is probably a good, like, it seems like a good way to practice, a fun place to practice if you like that kind of head to head.
Yeah.
Thing.
The big thing, gosh, who was it? Oh gosh, which FossPod interview was it? It was Blender, right? I think it was Pablo on the Blender episode was talking about how expensive just straight up compilers used to be in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
And like how that literally dictated some of the early decisions that were made around Blender because they had to pay to, like, they couldn't use C++ for stuff because they couldn't afford the compiler back then. But like the point is there are so many resources, like all the tools are free and a crap load of the resources are also free these days out there. Like there's so much out there to get started really accessibly.
Yeah. Well, and some of the, like, so a lot of language, you don't even have to do interpreted languages anymore, right? Like you can do JavaScript is a perfectly fine thing to learn too. Like and is incredibly useful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think there's a lot of options.
Yes, for sure.
So I did highlight the one that I want to do next. I said we were going to do one more, but I have one more.
Okay. I'll let you take this one.
Ginkgo says, if you took all of a thing from the planet and put them end to end, what thing would be the longest? Copper wire? Rice? It's a good question. I saw a study the other day that gave me an answer, but I'm going to let you go first.
Oh, geez. Gosh. I'm going to say ants.
Oh, ants is a good insect. It's always safe to bet on insects here, right? Because there's like, for every person, there's something like 200 tons of insects in the world or something like that.
I think this must have been on Nextlander. I know I've talked about this somewhere recently, but I want to say I've read that the mass of ants on the planet is greater than the biomass of everything else.
That would not surprise me.
I don't know if that's true or not, but
ants run silent and run deep.
Yes.
I read a study the other day where they tried to do a survey of all the worms.
Oh,
so I think nothing man-made is going to hit this category. Where I'm going to say maybe all the rice ever consumed, but not all the rice on the planet today. Yeah. That's not in the right ballpark. But worms, one of the big takeaways I had from this was that on a well-cultivated piece of farmland, there's probably more mass of worms underneath than there is of like livestock above it.
Oh, wow.
So like if you have a field full of cows, probably more worms underneath than there are cows on top. Mass-wise.
That's a lot of worm.
7 million worms per person is the low end of the estimate from this. And this was a study. This was surveying a bunch of different biomes around the world. It's the biggest longitudinal survey of worms ever, is my understanding.
That's a lot of
7
million times 7 billion.
Yeah, there's more zero. I don't know the number. I don't know what that number is.
That's a lot of worms.
It's a boatload of worms, and they're long too. So I think that beats ants. That's my theory.
Okay. Yeah, actually, you need the thing that is both the long. You need the sweet spot between length of object and number of objects, right?
Yeah, right.
Ants are numerous but not long, but worms are both numerous and long.
Yeah, they're long boys.
No.
So I guess that'll do it for us this week.
Yes.
I'm glad you're feeling a little better, Brad. I hope you continue your recovery.
Getting there. We should have Kishore back on sometime.
I would love to talk to Kishore again. I would love to talk to him. I kind of want to talk to him about the worm study, honestly. The worm thing was cool.
Yeah.
I read a bunch about worms this morning.
Wait, what if we got Kishore on and talked about cheerier science stuff?
Yeah, worms are cool, man.
Yeah.
I watched a crow this morning pick a couple of worms. It started raining down here, and the crow was just sitting in the backyard, and it was like a buffet for the crow. He was going ham on the worms.
Crows got to eat too.
Circle of life, man.
You know what's cool? Aerating the soil.
Yeah, and you know what else is cool? Our patrons.
That's right.
If you would like to become one of the Fabulous Tech Pod patrons and support the show and gain access to the Fabulous Tech Pod Discord, where all of these people who emailed us or called us in, I think, except for one today, are regular participants, you can by going to patreon.com/techpod. Again, it's patreon.com/techpod. And for as little as $2 a month, you can jump in there. At $5 a month, you get the patron episode that we listened to last week, and you get one of those a month too.
Yes.
This month we talked about Dark Forces.
Dark Forces is pretty good.
Have you played that thing yet?
I have not.
Oh, it's so good. But we also thank all of our executive producer patrons every month, including Paddle Creek Games, makers of Fractured Veil, Andrew Slosky, Redacted. Wow. Just redacted.
Just plain redacted?
Yeah.
Wow, mysterious.
Join the Tech Pod Gift Swap Wedge, Joel Krauska, Twinkle Twinkie, and James Kamek. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
And that, I guess, is going to do it for this week.
That's right. I'm suppressing a cough. We got to...
Oh, see y'all next time. Bye.